Hey, Judy.
Hi, Lisa. How's it going?
It's going.
Good.
No,
I
we're not
want to,
going to talk about the weather. No,
okay.
no. Okay. I
I'm
gotcha.
speechless.
You're speechless. Okay, so today let's go from being speechless and I'll give you something to talk about. How does that sound?
Okay, I like that.
Okay. So last week we were talking about um really we've done a lot of talking about like morning pages and writing about other things than about your project. So many
Hmm.
people feel like they have writer's block. They're working on a project, and there's this sense of, I have this goal I need to accomplish, and they feel blocked about it.
Hmm.
And we've been talking about how to become unblocked. And then I started thinking of, well, what happens if people are blocked, not because there's something in the way, but you've heard that phrase, you can't pour water from an empty bucket.
Hmm.
And I thought, really, maybe people aren't really blocked. They just have nothing to give because they've poured so much out that that bucket hasn't been filled up again.
Hasn't
And so
been
that's what we're going
refilled.
to
It's
talk about today.
okay. I love it. I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea. I know personally, one of the times when that happens is when you live alone.
Mm.
When you live with somebody, like, at the end of the day, what do? You share your work day, you talk about what happened, you get updated on the news, you give opinions, but when there's nobody to talk those things out with, because I'm a person that has to talk to enjoy those
And your
kinds of
dog doesn't
things.
necessarily respond.
She doesn't speak English yet. She tries really hard, but it's not there yet. And I won't tell you what she's doing right now that isn't very good. But anyway, exactly right. Yeah, that's it. Woo.
I'm
I don't
plugging
know
my
what she's,
nose. She's
I
got
don't,
flatulence.
flatulence. She's
Yes.
very
Or
fragrant today. They will never make a perfume from this fragrance.
do.
So I do. I think it's important. Last week, one of the things we talked about was not using the word should with things that we were
Mm.
suggesting. And I think sometimes what I want to say is I think our worlds get filled with shoulds
Yes.
and we forget to
Shoulds and
remove
responsibilities and
yeah,
things that we have on our to-do list and goals and objectives and
and even
to-do lists,
tasks,
tasks.
all the tasks. Got to do the laundry, got to do the dishes, got to cook supper, got to do this, got to do that, blah, 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 blah. And, um, you said, mix it up, have breakfast for supper or for dinner, something like that. But I think it can even go further.
And that's what we're talking about today. So we're going to
Yes.
talk about play.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. I
Many, many, many years ago, I was one of my favorite writing people was Natalie Goldberg.
like, mhm.
And she, in one of her books, had referenced the fact that, she's well known, a writer's writer. She talks to people about how to be creative and how to get your ideas out. And she talked about the fact that she also likes to paint. And she decided at one point to really, really focus on her writing because that was her bread and butter. That was what was making her money. And the painting was taking up a lot of time. She loved doing it, but that was not her moneymaker. That was not getting
Right.
her to her goal. And so she decided to stop. And what she discovered when she stopped painting was that her creativity for writing mysteriously dried up.
Just diminished. Right.
Yes.
Exactly. It
And so, really, what she was discovering and what we're talking about today is you need to have things in your life that bring you fun and joy and experimentation without the expectation of monetary gain or even a product when you're done
mhm.
that brings you back that sense of playfulness, that childhood sense of enjoyment.
That feeling of I'm so glad I did that. That really felt good. Boy, that was a fun afternoon.
Yeah.
And We have a very unusual family. What I was going to talk about is the last time I experienced that was the day that we were in Door County and we went to the hands-on gallery. Do you remember that? And we were doing what do they call it?
Fused glass.
Fused glass pieces.
Yes.
And they were all different one from the other totally. And I'm sitting there going, I'm looking at this one and thinking, how do you do this? I've never done this, you know. And when I got done and they handed me my finished piece, it was actually the next day we picked up the
Yep.
finished piece. I looked at that and I thought, wow, that was really, really a good thing. I felt good. I felt like I participated and enjoyed myself. And I would never have done that probably just on my own. But
Mhm.
because I had you creatures with me to, egg me on, it was really, really good. And I felt very self-satisfied. That feeling doesn't come for a lot of things, but
No, no, it doesn't. Like I said, I think that we get we get so grown up, and when we grow up, we get so serious,
yes.
and our lives tend to, and even our writing lives tend to be a series of I have to do this, and my goal is to get this many words by then, and it all becomes very serious. And as you were talking about, our family is unique. We realize that. So we have a
Yeah.
group called Sidetracked Sisters that we have a weekly commitment to. And
Yes.
you and me and my sister Michelle and your sister Sandy, my mom, we get together on a weekly basis and we write together. We get
Hmm.
together, and lately we're on a salad um, binge, on a salad
Hmm.
gig. So we get together at mom's house and we all bring some part of a salad, and it's on a rotating schedule. And we have a meal together. We talk about family stuff. We kind of update on what's going on. And then we have a topic and we all piss, whine, and complain about what that topic is,
Right. That's
right?
part of the program. Yeah,
Part
we
of the
got to complain.
process.
Mhm.
And we kind of brainstorm with one another. Michelle this past week had a real hard time. We were writing about um, a
Something about
food,
food. Mhm.
something about food, exactly. And she was like, I have nothing to write. And what
And
happened?
she had had a very stressful day.
A very stressful day.
And
Yes.
so it was so important for her to be able to play with that a little bit, right?
Yes. Yes.
And what happened?
And what happened was is I said, well, you've got some great ideas. And I said about dump meals. And she goes, I've written about that. And I just started thinking about all the different kinds of things that she has created in terms of food. And then we hit on birthday cakes.
Hmm.
And our family takes birthdays very, very, very seriously.
Hmm.
Every month, somebody's got a birthday. And cakes are very, my birthday cake is the same every single year. And that's what she ended up writing about because she is the cake guru. And for the last, I think she said 17 years,
She did. Yep.
she has been making my birthday cake, but it's not just any birthday cake. It has got grandma's special recipe for what I call slippery frosting,
Slippery frosting.
which
Right.
is not,
It's a boiled
it's a
frosting and
boiled frosting,
yeah.
and she's
And it's
gotten it.
not easy to make. It's almost like candy making. It has to be just right and it has to peak just right. And it also expands, if I heard her right. The ingredients seem so minor, but it grows and grows and grows so that you have a lot of slippery white frosting, right?
And sometimes, usually it's kind of puddleish. One year it had sugar crystals in it.
It was
Um,
crunchy, she
it was
said. And
crunchy,
it's not
slippery
meant to be
frosting.
crunchy.
Sometimes her cake has been a little off kilter, but it's always been so appreciated on my part. It definitely is her way to show love. And
Hmm.
because my love language is acts of service, I thoroughly appreciate that. But off on a tangent here. Um,
Always.
I love the fact that we get together and we explore creativity in a fun way with Sidetrack Sisters.
Hmm.
That's something that is a commitment we have to creative endeavors. And I think you mentioned
Well,
earlier,
the birthday cakes include our whole family. So
yes,
that's even that's extra fun. because it gives them a chance to laugh and play. And we always have to tell stories about the failures because some of them have been very interesting.
Yes. And cooking could be your adventure into playing, couldn't
Hmm.
it?
Oh, definitely. That's a huge one for playing.
Mhm.
I love tell the story about, I'm sorry, you were starting to say something. I interrupted you, but we've got to fit in the story about the birthday cake that Art made for Sandy when they were first married. Do you remember what that was about?
Not as good as you do. You remember it better than I do.
Well, he baked these cakes, and the cake was, I don't know if there wasn't enough liquid in it or whatever, but it broke into four pieces that were almost like a shamrock or a four-leaf clover. And he was trying to frost it, and he used the purchased frosting, and it was green. And he looked at the frosting and looked at all these pieces of cake, and he couldn't figure out how he was going to get it to piece together. So he kind of used the frosting like glue to piece the cake together. But then he had this empty frosting container, and he didn't have enough frosting to adequately get it all covered. So he took the frosting container, he turned it upside down, and he put it in the middle of the cake, and he just frosted around it. And bless you, I thought, who would be the wiser? And yet he said it looked pretty good, and she said it was really cute, but it was the thought that mattered. It was
Yeah.
just
Scheme of life and
adorable.
things. Once again, don't get your undies in a bundle about something. Play around with it, see where you can go, and that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Where now, did I make you forget what you were going to say?
Well, what I wanted to say is the first thing I want to say is we have got a commitment to Sidetrack Sisters. And I think there are some people that do have commitments to writers groups or book clubs,
Mm-hmm.
and that counts. That's so cool and so important. But I think you can also add to that. If
Mm-hmm.
that's simply become another to-do list item, there are other things that you can do. When I was reading my Bible of creativity, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, one of the things she recommends is having an artist date with yourself once a week. And she said
Wow.
it doesn't need to be long, but it has to be at least 1 hour. And she recommends doing something fun and out of the ordinary. And it doesn't need to be expensive. It can be as simple as cooking something. It can be something like um, we were talking about me playing the ukulele, something that's not going to be um, earning money, something that's not going to be something that has a finished product at the end, but just something you do because you wanna,
Yeah, and
right?
people will look at you when you say you played the ukulele. I would have never guessed that. It's a fun story to tell. It's an
Yeah.
interesting thing
And
about you. It's
we were
like, holy
talking about
cow.
Michelle and how her personality, the thing that she has fun with, is buying like stickers and pens and washi tape and decorating and playing with her journal or her
Her
planner.
her planner.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And that counts. And that's in totally in her possibility. One time we set up a group and we decided to make dream boards, and
Hmm.
how fun that was. Now, once again, you have to let go of is this the right way to do it?
There is no
It
right way to do it.
doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
just
And
fun.
the magazines we used to tear out of were, based on our subscriptions. So, you know, the dream boards had to be a little flexible because we didn't have every magazine known to man. But what I loved about that day was we included the teenagers, we included the little kids, we included everybody in it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And after the dream boards were created, then just showed us their dream board and said kind of a little bit about it, what they were trying
Yeah.
to portray or demonstrate or wish for or whatever. And I remember just being very impressed with learning something about each other that day. And it probably wouldn't have come out of us even in writing. It had to
Mm-mm.
come out of us in the expression of trying to find this new, um, I want to say venue or new method of putting out
New experience.
information. Yeah, exactly. And it was just, I'm sitting here looking. I think I still have Michael's and mine over here behind my bookcase because they were just so fun. I couldn't get rid of them. Of
No.
course, I can't get rid of anything, but
There's a shocker. Yeah.
yeah,
And that all comes back to back in the day, like I mentioned, the artist's way. I took a class called The Artist's Way, and it was a 12-week class based on the book. The book is 12 chapters long, organized in weeks.
Mhm,
And in that class, when we made the commitment to the artist's date, is what she
mhm.
calls it, an artist date every week, they encouraged us by, you know, getting us to do different things. One of them was that dream board. That was the first dream board I ever made. This was back in
Uh-huh.
1994.
Uh-huh.
Um, I also, in that class, did yoga for the first time.
Oh, I think
I think,
that's
you
so
know,
cool because how many of us say, "Oh, I'd love to do yoga," but you don't really have a venue to test it out and see what it feels like. Just,
yeah. But if
where
you make
there's
a commitment to an artist date, that would count. Go
a
find
good one.
yourself a yoga class. There are many places that will, for $5, $10, you can try it out. And just once.
Mhm.
You don't have to have a
Mhm.
membership anywhere. And maybe you like it. Maybe that's something you want to continue. Maybe it's like once and done, and that's fine too. So
Mhm.
we learned what sun salutations were. We practiced them a few times. We did a
Uh-huh.
whole yoga um, practice continuum, and that was like, wow, that was just like so interesting. And there are movement classes. There's dance classes. There's so many different things that, why don't we do those kinds of things? It's not, you don't have to make a long-term commitment to something to try something, right?
Oh, but there's a feeling inside of us, and I think this is really, 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 really something that happens in the Midwest. We're all so committed to the work we have to do. And
Mm.
if we take time to play, well, that's not the work we have to do. But the reality of,
Midwest work ethic.
you
Get
got
it
it,
done.
you got it. And as Natalie Goldberg found out, by taking that time to play, you actually are enjoying your work more because you gave yourself the freedom to have a good time, just do something different. I mean, I can do something as silly. I remember one time a girlfriend and I went to the movies and we sat through 4 different movies. We did a movie binge. And it wasn't creative or whatever, but they were all pretty good movies. And by the time you came out of that theater, you had been 4
Your
different
emotions.
places and
You,
with 4 different groups of people. And movies, if you really kind of let yourself go and get into them, there's a lot to them. I mean, I'm not talking about shoot 'em up and all that. I'm talking about maybe movies with a theme. Or I did something the other night that I was proud of. I watched a Hallmark movie. And I mean, television was absolutely worthless. And I thought, what am I going to watch? And I thought, well, Craig Eyes watches those Hallmark movies. So I turned one on and it put me in a really good mood. It was
huh.
fun. It was really
Okay, so stop right there. That is definitely something I want to touch on. What you said is that, so often we work or we veg,
mhm,
right?
right.
And I want people
And I want to
to
fill in the middle.
fill in the middle. Yes, there needs to be a play component in our lives too.
Mhm,
And how when that play component comes in, I believe that not so we're doing the morning pages in the day, getting the pipes cleaned out, but now we need to fill that bucket up. And I think that more than vegging, a sense of play and experimentation and fun is going to unblock people, give them something to, I don't know, not that you're going to write about your play, but it does something to our creativity bucket.
It
It
gives
just
you a sense of freedom. It gives you a sense of you feel lighter. You don't feel like, "Oh, it's the drudgery." You feel lighter and more self-satisfied, I think, is part of it.
mhm,
I mean, a
mhm.
Hallmark movie could be looked at as passive, but I have to say that it was very mood lightening. and I liked
Uplifting.
that. Yeah,
Mhm,
it
mhm.
felt good, and I thought I can see where Craig could get hooked on that.
He does.
Thank you, Grandma Doris.
I know. Grandma Doris was sitting around and we were moving in, I believe, and she was watching a Hallmark movie, and every time Craig brought in a box, he would walk by and, catch a piece of the movie until finally he sat down with her and watched the show together. And since
Oh, I think
then,
that's
he's been a real advocate of the Hallmark movie genre.
well, and really this time of the year, if you're not a sports fan, now he is a sports fan, but I think the night I did this, there was football on 2 or 3 channels. There was and I, if it's not the Packers or the Badgers or a team that I'm really knowledgeable, not even knowledgeable, but interested in.
Mhm.
Um if Matt's home, I love to watch with him. That's fun, but not by myself so much. Once in a while I'll, go back and forth with a Packer game or whatever. But there was nothing. I mean, there were no choices, and I'm not into Survivor or any of those reality shows. They make me so nervous I could just spit. So I thought, okay, all right. And I'm
Yep.
flipping through it. The Hallmark Channel came up, and I thought, that's it.
And I
So
think the only caveat that we should say about play is it shouldn't be phone based. It shouldn't be, spending an hour scrolling through,
Facebook.
Facebook reels or, TikToks. I think we need to say, yeah, that doesn't count. That's just that doesn't fill up any buckets.
No, I don't think it does, and I'm trying to decide how to say that. It's a passive activity, and I think what we're talking about, and even the Hallmark movie was a passive activity. I think it helps if you're actually involving yourself in it enough to make it an active activity,
Mhm.
something where you're giving something from inside, something where you're expressing a feeling or an idea or a desire or a
And so I think, and maybe something, I guess the hallmark is maybe, you're expanding, getting outside the box is really also,
mm,
I think, a component of what we're talking about here. So I think what things really do count, cooking or baking or, creating something with food would definitely count, especially if
mhm,
that's not something that you often do. You thought,
mhm.
oh, this would be fun, but for whatever reason, playing around with an instrument. The other thing that came into my mind was like those adult coloring books.
Yes, yes,
You know,
that's a great venue. I actually, when I worked at the hospital, we had adult coloring books, and we'd give those on a pack, a thing of a dozen colored pencils to some of the patients, and they just loved them. I mean, it would really, they couldn't wait to show you a picture because they felt like they had no idea they could do that. It was very cool. Another thing that comes to my mind is sewing. I used to make all my clothes. And I haven't done that in forever because I just haven't. And clothes now, I can find clothes that are pretty well made for
for pretty
pretty affordable
inexpensive.
prices. Yeah. And so, to put all the effort into it, but you don't have to just sew clothes. You can make something fun. That's another thing that Michelle does. She's got her Cricut and she makes things and she
Yeah,
does
she made
decorations for
she
around the
she got
house.
two pillows and she made two pillowcases for every month of the year.
hmm She
Is that
also
fun or is
made
that fun?
She also made a little gnome thing for
Welcome
her
sign
front
for her
door, little
front
welcome
door
signs, and she changes the little gnome
every
for
month.
every month. And I mean stuff like that. I mean, she uses that stuff up there, and that's like, I mean, her writing the other night we talked about. Her writing ended up being, I mean, we were hooting. We thought it had a sense of fun, of play, of
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
it really exhibited her sense of humor. It was very fun. And
Exactly.
she can be serious sometimes, and her work is quite serious. So I thought that was so healthy for her.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is kind of what we're encouraging people to do today is play. Bring an hour of play into your life each week. An artist date that
I
is
like it a lot.
non-negotiable. Maybe it might be with other people sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to have other people. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be serious, but it should really encourage that sense of play, of exploration, of fun, of doing something out of the ordinary.
Something you just wouldn't normally do.
Yeah. And I think that's going to really help people with that not just writers, but people who have that sense of being blocked or stuck, whether you're a writer or you need to be creative for whatever your career is or your whatever endeavor you're trying to be creative for.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
going to
I think
help.
that's so true. It can help in, self-promotion. It can help in building confidence because you realize, hey, I didn't think I could do that, but I could do that. I did that,
Mhm,
kind of
mhm.
thing. And I think, yeah, I mean, and thank
Yeah, that
goodness.
exactly.
Yeah, that's it. That thank goodness for Sidetrack Sisters because, I'm looking forward to the holidays because we're going to be doing
Oh,
cookies and
yes.
cookie decorating, and then we do our painting night together where we make a holiday themed painting and
Mhm. Okay,
um,
so let's get into, and then we do one night of gingerbread houses.
gingerbread houses.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
the cookie baking, decorating, that's kind of, I think we've talked about that before. So
Hmm.
that's something that happens in December for us, about a week before
Hmm.
Christmas.
Hmm.
But one year, we got what were they? Maybe
12 by
six
12s,
by
maybe.
eight. I think they were
Yeah.
bigger, smaller than that.
I don't remember, but they were.
Anyway, we
You
got,
did what I would have done. They were like that.
yeah, like 6 by 8 or 6 by 9, I think.
Hmm.
And Michelle and I got on the internet and we looked for simple holiday pictures, a single ornament, Santa belly, a gingerbread boy, um, a snow-covered tree, things
Hmm.
like that. And then we printed those off and had those available. So
Hmm.
Michelle has a stockpile of acrylic paints and brushes.
Hmm.
We went over to
Of
her
course she
house.
does.
And then I mean, there were some people who have never, probably as an adult, ever touched a paintbrush.
Mhm.
And it could be kind of stressful. So, like the Santa belly, just that was like, where do I even begin? And,
Mhm.
so we kind of talked. I said, okay, first you got to paint the background, the whole thing, just paint it all in. Anyway, just having a sense of fun and playfulness. And it turned out great. And it was like all of them turned out different. We picked different pictures, we picked different images um, to play around with. And we had the greatest time. There may have
Mhm.
been a little bit of slush involved, but
I think there's usually it just brings out our relaxed side a little bit.
exactly. If not slush, there were definitely brandy old fashions. We live in Wisconsin.
One or
Needless
the
to
other.
say, we are the experts and the connoisseurs of brandy old fashions. I prefer the
Yes.
sour, you have the sweet. I'm olives.
I'm olives, Sandy's mushrooms. Some
Yep.
people are onions. It just depends.
And some people are straight fruit. So
That's
we
right.
don't judge. Anyway, the other thing that we've done is we've done gingerbread houses. And that's my gig. I love playing around with gingerbread houses. Now, one year I did them and I had everybody put the walls up and stuff. No. Last year with the people I did, I built the house ahead of time
Oh, okay.
and we just decorated them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I know the challenge the year I purchased, I don't think I was involved last year
No, no,
because Michael was ill.
right.
But I think that was the challenge was trying to get the gingerbread house to stand. I wasn't
Stand,
a
yeah.
good contractor.
And I've learned that. I mean, I assume that because that's the way I had done it with first graders. We did it over like 4 days, 3 days of building the house and letting it dry, and then one day of decorating. I assumed that that was just something I needed to do for first graders, that grown-ups could do it all. Yeah, no.
That's so
And I
right.
do the graham cracker houses.
Yeah,
So that was something else that was like,
that makes it much
are we,
easier.
any of us ever going to sell a graham cracker house, a decorated one? Are we?
No,
And guess what? At the end of after Christmas, you know what we did with ours?
throw them away.
We threw them away. Yes, it was just to have fun and to laugh and to decorate. There is no goal in gingerbread houses. There is no saving. There is no.
I hope you took pictures.
I don't know that we did.
We took pictures of our paintings, remember? Those were good.
Yes, yes, we did do that. But just having that sense of play in our lives, A, makes us interesting, and B, it's self-care.
It is.
And
It takes you out of the realm of everything doesn't have to be serious. Everything doesn't have to be work. Everything doesn't have to be a task. Everything doesn't have to have a beginning, a middle, and a conclusion. It can just be because.
yes,
Just because.
and how
Yeah.
much that fosters that sense of creativity in us. Because if you're not giving the love to the creativity, yeah, that muse is going to say, yeah, you're kind of boring. I think I'm going to go find somebody else
Hmm.
who's funner to be with.
Exactly. If you're boring to yourself, you know you've got work to do. And I think I said that last week. I'm kind of bored with me, actually. So it's time. Oh,
Cool. Okay, Judy, let's wrap it up here and we'll talk to you next time.
okay. It's
Okay,
always good. It's always good. I look forward to it.
cool. Love you.
Have a good week.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.